Hi, this is Chase Utley, and this is the Phillies Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show with Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury. I'm Todd Zolecki. We have a special guest today, Cole Hamels, 2008 World Series MVP, World Series champion, 2008 NLCS MVP. Joined us. He is in town on Friday night for his retirement ceremony with the Philadelphia Phillies. Cole was the final member of the 2008 Phillies to retire from Major League Baseball. We had a lot of fun catching up with him, telling and reliving some old stories and memories from his time with the Phillies. This episode is brought to you by Scheib Vintage Sports. The Phillies are hot, and so are the styles at Scheib Vintage Sports. Check them out for all your Phillies shirts, hats, and more for kids and adults. Locally owned, Scheib carries exclusive designs from national brands, as well as original creations from Philly area artists. Think Powder Blue and Maroon, the Vet, and the Whiz Kids. So visit Scheib Vintage Sports. They have 3 locations, Center City, Wayne, and Westchester. Tell them the Phillies Show sent you, and you will get 15% off. Or visit scheibsports.com and enter the promo code The Phillies Show for 15% off. And now, the Phillies Show conversation with Cole Hamels. Cole, thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate the time. You are having your retirement ceremony Friday night at Citizens Bank Park. How meaningful is that to you? Are you excited to come back and be feted by the fans and see your career highlights on Fanavision?
I know, yeah, and that video board's a lot larger than when I was playing there. So no, it is. It's been great. I know the last couple of years have just been kind of interesting for to conclude my career, but there's nothing better than to see the reception. Being able to come back to Philly the past couple of years in the playoffs and really see just the excitement surrounding that team and just standing in a different scenario because I'm not on the field. You get to kind of receive it in a different way and you get to feel the energy in a different way. And it's just, you start to really appreciate, just the support of what Philly fans really are. And I'm really excited just to kind of get back there and really try to hopefully get involved with the Philly baseball community and, the organization and just, see what they have in store.
Yeah, you just got back you were in London as well. You got to see all your buddies. You got to experience the atmosphere and the excitement. It must be awesome just to fly to London and you see Chooch. I don't know how often you see Chooch. When's the last time you saw Chooch? Ryan Madsen, Matt Stairs, all those guys. You guys are like permanently bonded. It must be so cool just run into these guys and see these guys and hang out, isn't it?
It really is. I think as athletes, when you do something really special, it stays with you and you build on it. And when you're with these groups of guys, you can just fall right back into that sort of relationship that we had together, just because we did something very special and it wasn't easy. And so that's what we can acknowledge is we all had a part in winning and we had to do it believing in each other. And now we get to sit back and enjoy it and discuss it and talk about it and just fall back in line with how lives are after baseball and what we're up to. But the Phillies do a really good job with keeping us together, including us with the alumni and with the teams and these opportunities. I mean, to go to London, it was a dream. I think that's something that is so great for baseball, and to be a part of it. And all of us jumped on board so quickly because we understand the significance of what the Phillies are, the world of baseball, and we're excited to participate and partake in anything that they're offering.
Hey, I just want to stay on this London theme. Tell me about the fan support out there, because it looked like it was amazing.
It was absolutely nuts. That's my first time in London, and I'm sure a lot of fans, but it was about 80-20 Phillies fans. I mean, just to see how well they travel, and I think as players, we did when we would go on West Coast swings. We would see the Phillies fans out in the stands, and they'd be there early, and you'd see them around the cities. Philly travels really well, and that's just the support of what they do. They love sports, and we are very appreciative. And so to go to all the way to London and just to kind of interact with them at a different level. I think they were more surprised to, I guess, see us mingling with them and really enjoying the city and the tourist destinations and partaking in just the atmosphere. And then you get there to that stadium, and Major League Baseball has done a really good job with creating that stadium into a baseball stadium. I mean, the similarities to sort of a Toronto. And so, how they've done it, and it's to get there, and the activities surrounding baseball, they've really taken it to another level, and I think we're excited to see what they're going to continue to do over there.
Cole, the whole retirement ceremony coming up on Friday night, it should be great. Was it something that the Phillies had in mind, or was this important to you to retire as a Philly? How did it kind of come about?
Last year, the last 2 years coming to playoffs, going to the World Series back in 22, and then last year, a couple of the games, just being honored and just slowly discussing it. I think for me, Philly means a lot. I know I spent the majority of my career there. That's where I came up. It's my first introduction to baseball at a professional level. They really helped give me the platform to do what I like to do, which is to play baseball and to win, along with growing up. I came there so early in my career. So that's the impact that they had. And that's the memory that I want to keep, is what Philadelphia and the Phillies stand with me and to my heart. And, where I am as a person is a lot to do with that situation and with them.
What do you think it's going to be like? Will you have a lot of guests there in terms of, people who are impactful in your career, maybe coaches, scouts, teammates? And will it be very emotional for you?
It is. I know we're going to have, a few players and some staff, some family and friends that have kind of been there along the way. It is. I think, there's always going to be the emotional side that you try to hold back. And for me, I've always tried to be really straight-laced to the point in those moments. And then when I can finally relax, I sit back and soak it all in. But it's just a special moment, a special team, a special organization, and utmost such a special sports town to be a part of.
And with you retiring, it makes me feel so old, because I remember the day at a place called Veterans Stadium, you had your introductory press conference after being drafted, and I don't even think you shaved yet.
I don't even think I had a razor yet. Yeah, no, I did. That was mind-blowing. I mean, being from the West Coast, you don't really know much about the East Coast and the teams and the philosophies and the fan base as much, just because you don't get that. Nowadays with TV, internet, you can really follow along. But it's a far stretch for a lot of us to kind of understand the significance of Philly sports. And so you get to Veterans Stadium, and you see this behemoth of a place. And you're like, oh, damn, this is huge. There's gonna be a lot of people. And then that's the first thing that they said when I was signing there. Oh, we've got this new stadium going up. You're like, oh, great, real grass. This is a lot better. So it is. You're just like, hey, by the time you get up here, you're gonna be in that new stadium. I'm like, all right, that's great. So it's just work your way through the minor leagues and get up there as fast as possible.
That's awesome.
What do you remember about your debut? I was just looking at your debut in Cincinnati, a strikeout junior, King Griffey Jr. I think he went 5 innings. I remember after the game talking to Riel Cormier, and he's like, this guy does not act like a rookie. I mean, he looked so poised and calm. I mean, I distinctly remember Riel telling me that. And so when you think back to your debut, what jumps out? Were you as cool, as calm, as collected as Riel said that you were?
What led up to that was the first day I get called up. I'm not on the team for I guess the roster yet. So I have to sit in the clubhouse. And that day is the day that Aaron Rowan ran into the fence. And so I'm sitting in the training room, and I see the play, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what just happened? I mean, this is what, big leaguers do. They're all out. They are getting outs. They're there to win. They're there to get the job done. And I knew of Aaron Rollins just in spring training, but I was like, this guy is serious business. And he comes into that training room with obviously medical and blood everywhere. I mean, obviously his face is broken. He doesn't know at the time, but you can figure that. And he's just, just super cool and just like, all right, we got to get this fixed. What's the damage? How long am I out? That's his first question. And I'm trying to like escape. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want him to see me. Holy crap, what did I just witness? I mean, that kind of shook me in a way, like, this is the real deal. Like, this is the effort that you give on a daily basis. I mean, you run through walls for your teammates. So, then I got to pitch the next day. So we go to Cincinnati, and it's the forecast is rain. Well, growing up in San Diego, we don't play in the rain. I mean, if there's any sort of forecast in rain, it's like, out. Your games get rescheduled. It's already done. There's no attempt. So I'm like, I've got to pitch in the rain. I've never pitched in the rain in my career, my life. I was like, all right, I've got to get the job done. This is what you do for your teammates. I mean, just from that image that I had from Aaron, and I was like, all right, who am I playing? Cincinnati. Kind of went over the scouting report with Rich Doobie. And I knew at the time I'm facing one of my childhood heroes in King Griffey Jr. I mean, I think every kid had King Griffey Jr. Slugfest on Nintendo 64. So you just kind of, he's the big deal. So it is, I'm facing him in the first inning, and I strike him out, which was just an incredible moment for me. But again, it solidifies that you're like, no, I'm in the show. I'm here to stay. I'm good enough. I've got to get this job done for my teammates. And that was just the mentality that I took. And, I'm playing with some of the best players on our team. And, you have Charlie there. So there's just a lot at stake. I knew we're here to win. And that was the message that I remember hearing in spring training before I was called up was, I'm here to win. And what can I do to help this team get to the playoffs?
Hey, well, Cole, can you talk a little bit about like and try to make it, you don't have to sit here and talk about it forever. It can last forever, but your sort of maturation through the whole process of getting drafted, working your way through the minor leagues, and then that opening day.
Yeah. The minor leagues, I know there's always a lot of pressure when you're a first rounder. There's a lot of expectations that's thrown your way, and you look up, all right, who are the previous first rounders? Where are they? How long did it take them to get to the big leagues? What type of numbers they're putting up? And I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's Pat Burrell, Brett Myers, Gavin Floyd. You had Mike Lieberthal. You have even the top round picks of Jimmy, Ryan Howard, Ryan Matson. You're just like, oh, this team is full of players that were drafted high, they developed, and they're now making a difference in the big leagues with all the same mentality, which is to win. And so I was like, all right, that's what I've got to do. I've got to win. And, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to get through each level. There's always something where you're trying to see if you can skip levels. And I think that's more of the ego in us all. So it's like, all right, how long do I have to, I don't want to spend every year at a level. I want to be able to accelerate. And that's but then that's up to you, and you have to prove yourself. So yeah, you go to Lakewood, you learn about, certain things that you have to get through. Then you go to high A. And I ran into the fact that, I got injured, and pitching every 5 days and the workload, and it's just a different training regimen than what I think anybody's accustomed to in, say, a high school or even possibly college. But the minor leagues are my college. It's just, this is where you have to take it seriously. It's a job. So, you go through the bumps and bruises, you learn what you have to do. You learn your body type. You learn the sort of marathon of a season of baseball. And you start training, and then you have the off seasons too. You can't take that for granted. It's not pure vacation. You're training to get to the next level, because the whole goal is to get to the big leagues and be successful. So that's what I learned in the minor leagues. And then, honing that sort of craft of learning how to pitch, read swings, studying hitters, and then you get the job done. So that's kind of what it took. And it's a great learning lesson in life, because you just have to start doing the little things to make a big difference.
How much you talk about the minor leagues and dealing with some adversity and not being the education, even before that, I would think you had some education with adversity with the broken arm in high school. Did you ever think in high school after you broke your upper arm, correct?
Mhm.
I mean, did you ever think this might not happen? Do you ever look back at that and kind of like, wow, I mean, crazy.
Well, I mean, when the doctor that I had at the time, fortunate enough, my parents did a really good job, had good health insurance. So I ran so the doctor I had was actually the Padres team doctor, and he just happened to fall in. So he saw me, and I think he's the one that kind of shocked my system and my dream of playing professional sports and playing baseball. Was he looked at it and goes, man, nobody's ever come back from that. Can you play a different sport? I mean, from that day forward, at 16 years old, and they're like, yeah, that's not going to work. Do you play another sport? I'm like, no, baseball, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do baseball. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to try this new surgery. And he did. It was a new type of surgery that he did. He put metal rods in through the humerus bone opposed to doing plates. A lot of guys that ever had that injury in the past had plates. When you put plates, you're having to cut through a lot of muscle, tendon, and it's just, there's a lot more risk. So this was a new and improved. And because of my age, I'm still growing, so the bones can strengthen, because that was what they were afraid of, was me having a reoccurring injury. And then you just have to fly by the seat of your pants and just test it out. I think that's what trial and error is. And I did. And I think once I got through my senior year and did so well, all reservations and just anything that I would have thought of reoccurring, that injury ever happening again, it went right out the window. I believed with all my heart I was healed and it was not going to happen again. So now let's move forward, and not ever let that kind of linger in the back of my head. And that was a big deal. I think that was a mental toughness that I had to develop, that sometimes you probably learn that a little bit later in life. And I think that helped me just accelerate the hiccups that you'll have along the way in the minor leagues and in the big leagues.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about that, because that prepare you for, like, you had some back issues, and I saw how diligent you were about, getting yourself prepared and doing the prehab and rehab and whatever to prepare yourself with your back. Was that part of that process? Is that what helped you get, have that same sort of mindset as you work through it?
It does. Anything with any injury, and I think all of us as athletes, we all have some sort of injury or lingering injury that we have to play through. And with the back, I had a herniated disc, and they're just like, hey, a lot of people have this, and they just deal with it. I think, Pat Burrell at the time had something, and Jim Thome. So there were some periods where, I had Jim Thome come down, and, when you're 20 years old and you have a Hall of Famer coming down to do a very similar regimen as you're like, oh, I'm not going to let Jim Thome outdo me. I'm younger. I've got to do this. So we would actually do these exercises together. And I think that just helped build confidence, because you have that type of caliber guy and person and player looking over at you and encouraging you. And then at the end of the day, giving you a pat on the back, like, all right, let's do it again tomorrow. That's just the mentality. Like, all right, that's true. I have to do it again tomorrow. There are no days off. Like, this is a serious thing. I think that just helps build up. And that's, like you said, Ruben, it creates a mentality to continue to perform and do the little things.
Cole, it's 2002, right? Your senior year of high school when you got drafted, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so 2 years later, less than 2 years later, you go to Yankee George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa for this highly anticipated. Do you remember? You strike out Derek Jeter, A-Rod, and Tony Clark. Do you remember, how good is your baseball memory? Do you remember the pitches, the count? How good are you? Because I wrote it down. I'll see if I can test you. Don't feel bad if you don't remember.
No, I remember a little bit of it.
Okay.
It's funny because Bo was talking about it last week too, because Larry Bo is the manager at the time, and I think when you think of him, it's an ESPN game, which were rare. They were very rare. It's not like today. So it's a big deal. And he was going to throw me out there as a 20-year-old against these big shots. He didn't fear it. He's like, no, I was going to let you have it. And I was like, good, thanks, Larry. I was going to show you I've got what it takes. So we laughed about it last week. It was great. But yeah, no, I think with all three of those hitters, what I was trying to do was really just establish a fastball down and away. That was something of my strength. Try to steal strike one, and then you know what? I'll if you don't swing at it, let me see if I can get another one. And so I think that's what I did. And then, once I got 2 strikes, it's like, all right, well, this is my bread and butter is my changeup. I'm going to see, does my changeup hold up to big league hitters? And I'm really big at watching the swing and miss. I love to watch, what guys do with their swing, their approach. And that kind of tells me how I have to then do the cat and mouse game. And so I threw it. When you see a big swing and miss and a whiff, I'm like, there's nothing, there's no contact ever. I'm like, all right, well, you guys are going to keep getting this. So I think that's kind of what I did. I don't know if I got any foul balls in between, but it was a very quick inning.
It was.
So I don't know if it was 10 or 11 pitches, but I do know I struck everybody out with a changeup.
Yeah, it was Jeter 1-2 changeup swinging, A-Rod 1-2 changeup looking, Tony Clark 2-2 changeup swinging, and then everybody's like, "When's he coming up?
Yeah.
When's he coming up?"
Oh yeah, we heard all that noise.
That's the worst. I'm like, hey, you know what? I guess I put the pressure on those guys, but it's still a good thing. Process. Yeah.
I remember speaking with your high school pitching coach. I believe his name was Mark Furtak.
Yes.
And he took me through the story about how he taught you the changeup. And he said, I'm going to, I think you were maybe a sophomore and you're going to pitch varsity and you didn't have a big fastball yet, but he loved everything else about you. And he said, I'm going to teach him a changeup and teach him to pitch backwards. You remember that? No,
I did. And it's something that, he continued to try to do later on with a lot of different players. But, at the time when I was a freshman, sophomore, the team was the number 1 team in the nation, and that's, when you have Baseball America and USA Today. So they were the number 1 team, and there was 30 to 40 scouts at their practices and let alone their games. That puts a lot of pressure on you. So they had a big pitcher at the time, Matt Wheatland, pitched for Team USA, in Taiwan when they won. And so he was the big guy, and he ended up being a first rounder to Detroit, and unfortunately suffered a couple injuries and wasn't able to make it. But you just learn from watching those guys. And I was, he goes, if you want to be like this guy, watch what he does. And, I didn't have a 95-mile-an-hour fastball yet. I was barely touching 80. So, my curveball was very inconsistent. So it's, hey, this is this changeup. Matt has it. You're going to learn it and watch what he does, but you're probably going to have to use yours a little bit more until you can throw 95. And I did. They would bring me in late in the game, and I would again try to establish a fastball down and away. If I could get a quick, easy out, that was great. Most of the time, guys were just trying to watch to see what I had. Well, I'd steal a strike, and then I would just go change up. And these guys would be swinging, fouling. And then all of a sudden I was able to throw a fastball and it looked 95. And that's kind of the report that I was end up getting. And I worked my way into, the starting, being the number 2 guy behind him. But yes, that was the lingo as you're left-handed. You got to be crafty, got to go backwards. And I think, at that time too, being in San Diego, Sterling Hitchcock was pitching there. You have Tom Glavine. Those were the guys that I would look at and watch, and they were very similar style because they didn't have the big fastball, so they had to learn how to pitch, and that's what I was trying to emulate.
Hey, when you were a young player, you talk about studying and emulating certain players. Anybody on the Phillies organization, as you were getting closer to the big leagues, you're getting opportunities to be in big league camp. Anybody that you sort of pick their brain? Anybody special that helped you move the process forward for you?
Yeah, I played catch a lot with Randy Wolf and Real Cormier. So left-handers, I think that was helpful. I lasted 1 day with Billy Wagner, and I was out. If you ever played catch with Billy Wagner, he would go back about 50 feet, not even 60, and throw it 100 miles an hour at you. First pitch, just right there. I'm like, nope, I'm out. Sorry, can't do this. Real, Randy, they kind of stretched it out slower and were more methodical about it. And I'm like, those are my guys. I need to play catch with you guys. and Billy made fun of me, I think, for weeks, because I started to avoid him. And he's like, where are you going, Cole? Where are you running away? You don't want to play catch anymore. He would just give me crap. And I'm like, no, I don't want to play catch with you. I'm sorry. And I'm like, Randy, please save me. Real, save me. So, just being able to watch them, how they played catch, it makes a difference. You spend so much time on the baseball field, there's a lot of busy time and there's a lot of waiting and hanging out, dead time. But playing catch, I mean, this is what we do. So, take it serious. You have to do it every day. If there's a way that you can learn how to do it right, it's going to translate into your bullpens, and then your bullpens are going to translate into the game. And so, I just watched Randy and how he really started. He'd work one side of the body when we play catch, and then he'd move over to the other. And it was just one after another. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't sporadic. There was a rhythm to it. And then when he would get to his off speed stuff, and that was something, because I struggled with my curveball. Randy had a really good curveball, and he knew how to work it from the outside of the plate to the inside of the plate. So, I just kind of watched how he did that, and then I tried to apply that with other pitches. But yeah, it was good to watch them. And, at the time, those were the big guys. I mean, Real was there forever and in the bullpen, and Randy was, a big time pitcher for the team at the time. So it was nice to be around those guys and have that opportunity in spring training to be able to play catch with that, and then translate that into the minor leagues when I was playing catch with other guys.
Cole, when I was 24 years old, I was eating Cheerios in my mother's kitchen. When you were 24 years old, you put a team and a city on your back and pitched them to the World Series title. League championship MVP, World Series MVP. I mean, I still see those nights in Dodger Stadium and Citizens Bank Park like they're yesterday. And it just blows my mind, the talent you showed, the toughness you showed, the poise you showed, and the way you picked up this team and this city and delivered it where it wanted to go, where it hadn't been in a long time at age 24. I'm wondering if it maybe, were you kind of, because you were so young, were you oblivious to all the pressure and what it meant and the stakes, and maybe did that kind of help you, or did you kind of amaze yourself at doing what you did at that young age?
It's a little bit kind of similar to what you said, but I think at 23, when I lost that first playoff game to Colorado, I think I put a little bit of pressure on myself, wanted to deliver. It's game one. You want to always start off hot. You want to get that first win. And I think, I had bases loaded. I started giving up some runs in the second inning or something. And there was a potential almost grand slam from Matt Holliday that I think just went foul. I mean, he hit it so far, it was over the foul pole. And it was weird. It was like this release of pressure. And we did lose that game, and I know we got knocked out, but I think going into the postseason against Milwaukee that next year, I just told myself, I'm like, what do I have to lose? I already lost one playoff game. I mean, I already lost a game one. What's the worst that can happen? I lose again. It sucks. I don't want that to happen, but it completely released all of the anxiety and stress that I suppose we carried in that first opportunity in the postseason, to then just bearing down and focusing at what my task was, which was to get each individual hitter out. Let's work through. Let's get through the first inning. We're going to get through the second inning. It kind of simplified it for me, and it made me just kind of hone in. And getting through that first game, boom. I mean, I did a great job. The team scores, and we end up winning that series. And then going to the Dodgers, that's when I started to develop the confidence. I always loved pitching against the Dodgers. Always wanted to beat the Dodgers. And it just built. And I think going into Dodger Stadium, I knew I'm very successful on the West Coast. That's California. It's where I'm from. I'm not going to lose games in California. And I just kind of kept that. And I built that confidence that I was like, I'm not losing. I'm winning. I'm not losing. And when you have players like Jimmy hitting home runs in the first inning, I mean, are you kidding me? That just makes it a little bit easier for me. I'm like, I just needed one or two runs. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for getting it out the way early. And it snowballs, and everything, just knowing what you have to do, knowing your teammates have your back. And they did. I mean, when you have one of the best defenses, that is the best feeling when you're playing, when you're struggling or you're behind in the count. You're like, all right, I'll just get a ground ball. I don't have to strike everybody out. So it's a team. And I understand, I started playing better and I was on a roll. And you get these, these sort of trophies and the MVPs, but it's not because of me individually. My teammates did everything possible to make my job easier, and for me to build on my strengths and to attack and not fear attacking and doing what I need to do, risk taking, because I knew I had them behind me and I knew they were going to score runs and I knew they were not going to make errors. They were going to get the plays done. And that right there that's the recipe for success.
When you think back to that 2008 postseason, is there something that always comes back to mind, a moment that gives you chills or a moment like, wow, that was friggin' awesome, and you can just replay it in your mind over and over and over again? It doesn't have to be pitching necessarily.
No, yeah, no. I mean, I think there's a lot of moments, but when, Pat Burrell got up in that second game and hits that ball off the wall, I mean, it was so close from a homer. I mean, so close. But the stadium was so electric in, batting practice, because, I mean, when everybody's got 2 innings, they're like, 2 innings, they're boozing it up. I mean, they are like, we're winning this. We're not going back to Tampa. I mean, the fans were awesome. They're on their feet. And, from that very first at bat, and Burrell hits that one off the wall, you're like, oh, we've got this. We've got this. This is ours. And, that right there, that's the energy. That's the moment. I mean, it gives me chills. We got the goosebumps thinking about it. And especially for Pat, because Pat was the first person I met in that clubhouse when I was going to sign. So I hadn't signed yet. And I go to the game in San Diego, and the Phillies are playing the Padres, and 18-year-old kid, I walk into the clubhouse and Pat Burrell grabs me, right, and pulls me aside, just starts to kind of grill me a little bit. And I knew who he was, because anybody who has fantasy baseball or obviously watches, it's Pat the Bat. So you kind of recognize he's on SportsCenter all the time hitting homers against the Mets. That was a big moment. I was like, oh my gosh, Pat Burrell, okay. And so he does that. And it was just really kind of great to see. And then it is us taking it and winning in Philly. That there's no substitution for how amazing that really is, and the importance and how special.
Hey, so I'm kind of wondering what you'd like to do in the future, and I know you have a lot of different interests, but what's the plan for Cole Hamels now?
I think slowly just kind of getting back into the game of baseball. Obviously, I'm pretty good at pitching, so I know that's kind of the side that I would probably have to look into. It's just how to develop great pitchers. I was very, very fortunate to have incredible mentors. And, when you have guys like Jamie Moyer and Roy Halladay, Roy Oswalt, Cliff Lee, then you kind of, I got to pitch with John Lester. You just have these really, really good pitchers, and they help you along the way. AJ Burnett, he helped me with my spike curve. I mean, I completely changed my curveball grip because of him when he came over, and then all of a sudden it just started working. So you understand the importance of what a mentor, and especially a player that has a certain caliber or has accomplished certain things, you want to listen. So I feel like I can pass down a lot of the information that I was given, and sort of the stories and the failures and successes, and how to build the future generation of starting pitchers. So how I can do that, and how it works. Like anything, I want to be good at what I do. I don't want to just come in with all the answers, because I don't have them. You have to go through a process of sitting back and watching, and slowly then integrating what you can in your knowledge without stepping on any toes. So I think that's what this year and possibly next year, really, I'm just going to slowly try to see where I can fit in, observe, and then just kind of, throw some tidbits before it gets a little bit more involved.
That's very cool.
Well, I mentioned 08 postseason and how it kind of still blows my mind. There's another moment in your career that still blows my mind, and that was your last Phillies start. There was so much to that buildup. So it was at the trade deadline. I think Ruben had a deal done the day you went to the mound in Wrigley Field that day.
Pretty close.
So basically, he just had to do the I's and the T's. You struggled in your previous 2 outings, but we all kind of knew you were getting traded. you go to the mound that day and your fastball is just popping. It is electric. And I'm up there charting and I'm like, oh my God, he is firing. And then all of a sudden it's the 5th inning. You're cruising to a no-hitter. You pitch a no-hitter on your way out the door. They didn't nickname you Hollywood for nothing. I mean, does that still, like, does it kind of, that day, that exit, that storybook ending kind of blow your mind a wee bit?
It really does. It like you just said, the 2 starts before, I mean, I got booed off the field in Philly. I think that was probably my last start in Philly. It's like I got booed off the field because I gave up a 5-run lead. So I just went into it and I'm like, all right, I love Wrigley Field. I do very well here. I love the backdrop. It was a great day. Chooch and I, we just kind of sat out there and as we were playing catch, getting ready, it's like, all right, this is go time. Let's see what happens today. Because he knew too. He's like, hey, this will be your last start. Next week will be your next start. We knew I was going to be gone. It was, just the understanding. So we just let it happen. We wanted to enjoy the moment together. And from that first pitch I threw, very first pitch, I mean, it came out of my hand and it split the corner of the plate. And when it hit Chooch's glove, I mean, when he received it, you could tell he's like, whoa. Was happening. And then we went to the next pitches and everything was working. My cutter was tight. The curveball was probably the best I've had. My changeup was my changeup. So you get into there, the first guy steps up and I let it fly. And it is. I was just hitting every little corner, up, down, out. It's just tell them I wouldn't have, it's one of those things we get a couple on here, but chance. And as the game builds and builds and builds, there were parts in that game where Chooch, he'd throw the ball back at the pitch he wanted, and I'd kind of laugh going, yep, we already had, it's like the game plan was already laid out and we were just following along. And there were times where, I mean, he probably could have closed his eyes on a few pitches because I was hitting his glove. He didn't have to move it. And then, the energy of Wrigley Field. I mean, Wrigley Field's a very special, baseball town. That field is amazing. As the innings and the outs kind of, accumulate, the fans are on their stands, the energy. And so I'm kind of soaking in that energy too. I mean, the extra adrenaline is pumping. And yeah, it finishes the way that it finishes, which I think right there is a heart attack in itself. But I think it's probably one of the few times in my career I've ever thrown a 3-2 curveball. The 3-2 curveball is like, no, we're either going to go cutter, we're going to go fastball or changeup. Changeup was obviously a big one I could always do. But Chooch is like, no, your curveball's been working today. Why change it? Why overcomplicate this? This is already working. Let's do it. And I go, you know what? Hell yeah, let's do this.
Wow.
And I do. I throw a 3-2 curveball and he hit it. I'm like, oh my God, I just gave up a homer. I'm never doing this again. Thank God the wind was blowing. And then I've got,
Odubel played the circus.
Circles. Yeah, he's running circles, going around and making it interesting for everybody.
I can still see that ball. It was Chris Bryant, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can still see that ball coming off his bat, and I'm thinking, here's the University of San Diego kid. You were committed to the University of San Diego. He's not going to do this to you, right?
I know.
And Odubel, man.
Yeah.
Would you have killed Odubel if he dropped that ball?
No,
I would have killed him probably.
I would have let everybody else, but I think at that time, my outfield, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but they always do the stats for what your outfield ranks, and I had an outfield that was not the highest of the success rate.
Right.
You've got Odubel, second baseman. You got Ashe out there, who's a third baseman. Dominic Brown, at least I had out in right field, but it wasn't a very electric in a way of they're used to playing the outfield. At a time, I think earlier in my career, when you have a Victorino, a Michael Bourne, and a Chris Roberson out in the outfield, some of the best outfielders or fastest outfielders to play. I'm like, oh, I can let the ball go anywhere. They're going to catch it. So it was a little different. But you just make it. You just do what you got to do.
I remember Jeff Francoeur after the game in that clubhouse, like yelling out as you guys were celebrating, "Nice catch, Odubel."
Oh, man.
That was hilarious.
Jeff's one of the funniest people.
Ruben, was the trade done that day? Was the trade done?
Well, I think we were pretty close. I mean, it was gotten to the point with John Daniels at that point that, we were sort of starting the whole process of checking medicals and that kind of stuff. But, again, that was one of those situations where, you didn't want to trade one of the iconic, starting pitchers in your franchise, but it was sort of the right thing to do for our organization at the time. And he had a kind of a limited no trade clause. So there was a lot of complications. We were talking with the agent a lot, and we finally got something done that I think served both the Phillies and Cole as well.
And it went down. We were in Toronto when it went down, and from Chicago to Toronto. And I still, Cole, remember you coming out of the back of that clubhouse and walking across the tunnel. They pulled the buses inside. And I remember kind of getting a lump in my throat, thinking, wow, it's over. Seeing you walk to the bus knowing that this trade was done, basically. Do you remember that night in Toronto when it was consummated?
I do. Because it is. You're on the phone. You're kind of working through it. And it is, you just kind of like, wow, okay, I've got to move forward. I mean, this happens to athletes. It's just the nature of the business and the situation, and you've got to move forward. And I think really what I take from it is it's a new chapter in my career. But I really do appreciate the Ruben for the opportunity of trading me to a team that wanted to win now and to have some more opportunities to try to win. I mean, I got to go and chase down a postseason again with Texas. And I know we lost in that weird epic bat flip game 5 in Toronto that I was pitching. So, but then the next year I got another opportunity to pitch in the postseason. So, and that, I think, as all of us in our careers, we just want opportunities to win. And I understood where the Phillies were going. They needed to rebuild to where they are today. And, they've done a great job, but that's what happens, I think, in franchises. It's the ups, downs. You don't always get to stay great. And I think that's, the hardest part. And, I don't run it. So I don't understand the ins and outs, but it's a very difficult thing to keep the team at the top level all the time forever. It's just, I don't think it's possible. So your career is very short and you just have to make the best of it. And for all of us, we're just trying to win.
And then, Cole, I remember the year that you signed that 1-year deal with the Dodgers, the Phillies were coming after you, and there was some talk maybe of the Phillies signing. And I remember asking Bryce Harper, I said, what do you think about Cole coming back? Because you guys had that thing back in the day.
Yeah.
And he goes, and he's like, no, I don't care if Cole can pitch and he can help us win. I would love to have Cole Hamels on the team. Have you talked to him, over the years? And I mean, that was such a, you drill him, he steals home on you. It caused this big kerfuffle with Mike Rizzo, but it was cool. Like Bryce is like, I don't care. You hit, that was a long time ago. I want to win. So have you ever talked to, do you know Bryce? Have you talked to Bryce? And, hey, maybe you could throw out the first pitch to him on Friday night.
That'd be great, right? Was he in the box or not? No, I have the utmost respect for him. I think, and even at the time, we're such competitors, we're such athletes, and we knew he was going to be the face of baseball. And I think he's even blown all of us away with how much he really understands and who he is as a person and a player. He's sky's the limits with him, and I'm happy to say that I competed against him. It would have been great to be a teammate with him. I think just who he is, you want to be surrounded by the best. And I think that's where you develop over time. You develop friendships. We've just had some periodically, highs here and there. But I have no ill will. I really do respect him, and I am a fan of him. And I think that's what it takes is, we all checks and balances. We're all, when we start, everybody's checking us. We just got to prove ourselves. We got to prove to everybody, and it just is what it is. But situation kind of, I guess, got a little hand. I learned a very valuable lesson, not open my mouth.
That's right.
I remember.
After the game, we walked out of the clubhouse. We were floored. We're like, because we asked you, I said, did you throw him in on purpose? Like, oh yeah, I drilled him on purpose. I was like, oh my God.
Like, oh, you're not supposed to do that.
Do you have we had Chase on a couple weeks ago, and we had Burrell on about a month or so ago, and Pat told a great Chase story. Chase, we asked him some stories. Do you have a favorite Chase Utley story? Just kind of shows you what kind of competitor he is.
Oh man, I mean, there's times Chase could be very like a silent assassin in a way, and he didn't really like to show he was frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, I mean, you'd see behind closed doors, and we have stuff everywhere. And I think there was one moment, I mean, he came in and just blew up anything that was in his way. I mean, he had a bat. I mean, he's throwing stuff, he's hitting stuff, and he's blowing up all sorts of things. I'm like, oh my God. I wanted to laugh because you just don't see that side of him. I mean, he's so
right.
serious. And I'm just like, this is awesome to watch. And he's just flipping out because you can understand his frustration and how much time he puts into what he did. I mean, the game finished, boom, was in the video room. He wanted to rewatch a few things so that he could go to bed, either processing trying to move forward or going, oh, this is what they're going to do tomorrow. I got to prep for this tomorrow. That taught me a lot. I mean, the video time, that taught me to put in more time video in the video room was watching him. But yeah, no, I think we've had some fun times off the field, a little bit more that, we just kind of keep is enjoying the moment, especially on golf trips, which, golf trips involve, a lot of other extracurriculars and that sort of thing. So it's been good, but it's
we need a golf story. We need a golf story from
man. I mean, we had a really good. He had a 40th, so we're all down in Cabo, and a lot of us all came. And the golf, the course we can play at. I mean, it's you wear a bathing suit, and that's about it. No shoes, no shirt. I mean, you're drinking tequila shots, throwing them out of Bell. I mean, it's in a ruckus in a way, and it's like, oh man, when we go, all the wives or girlfriends are waiting. You're like, this is not going to end well. When we're finishing up 18, I mean, it's a circus, and we got Nick Punto there too, and I think you guys know him.
Yeah.
We're like, we got to go back and we got to clean it up. So it's just those things. It's all of a sudden you see it's fun, and then everybody looks at each other with all seriousness. You're like, all right, guys, let's get back to serious mode. So yeah, that's it's just a good time with all those guys, and to see him now and in London with a lot of those guys, it was just great to be around. I think the funniest thing that he told me while he was doing last week, he was doing the sort of home run hitting contest, or it was a point thing against Daniel Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's in there, he goes, this is my worst nightmare. And I'm like, well, what do you mean, Chase? He goes, I have to hit right now. And he goes, in front of this, this is my worst nightmare. I was like, damn it, Chase, now you're getting in my head. I got to throw a first pitch out, and I haven't thrown a ball in months. That's my worst nightmare. I'm going to bounce this. So now I'm like, Chase, what'd you do? He's like, practice. I'm like, so you're going to see me probably after this. I'm going to have to go throw a ball into the fence to get ready for a first pitch, one pitch. All our worst nightmares coming true right now.
Well, good luck, man. Good luck and enjoy yourself on Friday. We really appreciate the time. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know that it's going to be a packed ballpark, and they're going to love to see the highlights and see you and relive some of those great moments.
And congratulations from someone who's got a chance to watch you grow up and become the person and the player that you are. You should be very proud of your accomplishments and soak it in, man. Enjoy every minute of it because you deserve it. You are one of the more iconic players in the history of our franchise, and you made lives very, very happy. There are 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old people who were in that parade who are forever, ever indebted to you. So thanks so much for what you've done for this franchise.
No, thank you, Ruben. Thanks for your kind words.
Thanks again to Cole Hamels for the time. We had a lot of fun. We hope you did too. Remember, Shibe Vintage Sports, Westchester, Wayne, Center City. Go to one of those stores, tell them that the Philly Show sent you, and you will get 15% off your next purchase. If you can't make it to one of the stores, go to shibesports.com and use the promo code The Phillies Show. We will be back next week for for more Phillies talk. Thanks, everybody. This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.